Hello, good evening, everyone. Great to be with you tonight on Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, Private Enterprise Federation calls for stiffer sanctions against businesses quoting goods and services in dollars. Also coming up, Coalition of Aggrieved Fund Management customers renew pressure on government to pay monies owed them. Plus, tonight, government announces reward package for informants as it tries to curb smuggling of fertilizer. Thanks everyone for being with us. We've got details right after this break. Now, first story, President of the Private Enterprise Federation, PEF, Nana Osei-Bonsu, says the Bank of Ghana must stiffen sanctions on businesses quoting goods and services in dollars. Even though the central bank has established regulations against the practice, checks show many are flouting the directive. Nana Osei-Bonsu says stricter sanctions will put an end to the practice. Charles Aite has more in this report.
The Private Enterprise Federation, PEP, has called on the Bank of Ghana to deepen sanctions against businesses who quote prices of goods and services in dollars. Already, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, says structures are in place to enforce regulations against the dollarization of the economy. Speaking to Joy Business, President of PEP, Nana Osei-Bonsu, insists the central bank must bite harder to act as a deterrent to corporates.
Economy should not be dollarized because in most countries you can do that. So Bank of Ghana is in the right approach when they say that you cannot do anything with the dollar marking. So that is a no-go area that I support 100%, because once you take the dollar out of the equation, then people are going to wake up. It's going to take some time, but it's going to wake up that this is a CD and that's a CD. But the guy has not made any difference, had not changed the product, had not added anything. The moment the dollar goes up against our currency, and sometimes it's not because of our currency weaknesses, because the dollar is strength, and it's gone out against our currency. This guy selling bread increases the price of the bread. What's the position? On the basis of what? Okay, so that Bank of Ghana action to me is the right thing to do. It might take some doing, but I think some legal issues have to be ironed out and then punish the people who do not play ball.
Meanwhile, PEF says it backs the governor of the Bank of Ghana on a case he made before the Public Accounts Committee that a BOG has no parochial interest in the fall of the city. This comes after the bank posted a record earnings of 1.8 billion cedis in 2019. Nana Osei-Bonsu argues the shortfalls of the city is largely due to external forces amid the coronavirus.
Well, I don't think anybody at Bank of Ghana consciously will be doing anything to profit from the foreign exchange, the volatility. I disagree on the angle of how we maintain our monetary policy on the part of how we support our currency. But that doesn't mean that somebody consciously is profiting to show a bottom line of profit margins for the institution at the detriment of the economy. I don't think so.
So far, the coronavirus is said to have affected various sectors of the Ghanaian economy, with GDP estimates expected to tumble in 2020.
Now, the Bank of Ghana has warned Ghana's ability to pay back debt in time in the coming months could be under threat. John Jaffe has been looking through the central bank's recent fiscal development report.
The Bank of Ghana's warning is influenced by fears that the rising budget deficit and how that could negatively impact on the country's total debt stock. This, the bank fears, could soon affect government's ability to pay its debt back on time. For instance, based on the first quarter numbers, government ended March this year spending 13 billion Ghana cedis more than revenue projected. The situation, the Bank of Ghana says, has also been compounded by the coronavirus-related spending. But Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has argued that looking at the current situation, it might not be in a position to provide the needed financial cover to contain this rising deficit.
If the situation does not improve and it becomes protracted, the central bank would not be able to provide the additional resources that will be needed if we are not to undermine all the gains that we have made over the last 3 years.
The Bank of Ghana's comment is coming on the back of a recent warning from the IMF and the World Bank that Ghana is still seen as a high-risk of debt-distressed country, a warning to the country's investors and development partners that it could struggle to pay its debt back on time. This is despite recent expansion of the economy. The country's total debt stock ending March this year stands at 236 billion Ghana cedis, and there are fears that it could be hitting record levels when the numbers are updated by the Bank of Ghana.
Moving next to another story we are following for you, the Coalition of Aggrieved Fund Management Customers have renewed pressure on government to pay monies owed them. Members say life has become unbearable for the over 128,000 affected who invested really in the 53 collapsed companies. And Asen Sumensa has more in this report.
Members began the press conference by observing a minute's silence for the departed colleagues they say died from agony over their locked-up funds. Amid chants of the popular "We Can't Breathe" slogan, they accused government of failing to respond to their cry since 2018. They are vowing to seek refuge in the opposition NDC with their votes if their money is not paid by end of July. Charles Nyame, a spokesperson.
We are requesting the government to approve payment of our funds by July 2020, failure for which we, together with our families, our loved ones, our sympathizers, our well-wishers, all of us would throw our support behind former President John Dramani Mahama. During this year's general elections, considering that the former president has come out to categorically assure us of full payment in the event that he wins the 2020 general elections.
The group questions government sincerity with its COVID-19 stimulus package for businesses while ignoring victims of the financial sector cleanup.
Even though our predicament is worse than the COVID-19 pandemic, government seems to show more attention at helping businesses who have been affected by the pandemic with stimulus packages than finding a solution to our situation. How should a government borrow money to give to businesses as stimulus package and neglect us for a problem that they themselves created? We therefore wish to remind the government to know that if the energy crisis and the teacher trainees allowances scrapped off by the Mahama government and the nursing trainees allowances struck off by the Mahama government could contribute to his loss in 2016 election, even though the energy crisis was not deliberately created by President Mahama, then President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should also know that history will repeat itself in 2020 elections.
Meanwhile, leaders urge members nationwide to massively turn out to register during compilation of a new electoral roll in order to exercise their franchise in December.
We call on all our members, together with our families, our friends, that when the voter registration commences, let all of us do everything possible to register massively and vote massively against President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo if he refused to pay our money before elections.
Nana Asensu Mensah reporting.
The issues with locked-up funds turning political there. Let's turn attention to other stories tonight on Business Live. In the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, entrepreneurs have to face a new reality that is not only to do with a health crisis affecting millions of people, but an unprecedented economic downturn. Now, how do entrepreneurs survive? That is an important conversation we want to have on a special edition of the Masterclass on Joy FM. It is dubbed the Entrepreneur Rebound, and I'm honored to have the host of the Masterclass on tonight on Business Live, Yao Inimbanafo. Great to have you on the show tonight, Yao.
Great to be here, Daryl. Thank you.
Okay. So why are we having this conversation, the Entrepreneur Rebound?
Right. So just very briefly, I mean, if you look at, in the month of March, I believe it was, the Minister of Finance presented a report on the impact of the pandemic on the economy globally and then on the economy of Ghana. Now, I'm just going to talk about GDP. We're looking at a proposed GDP of about 6.8%, but that is going to fall to a target of about 2.6% in 2020 because of the pandemic. Globally, we're looking at a GDP growth of about 3.3% for 2020. Again, we're looking at that slowing down to about 2.9%. The summary, therefore, is that businesses are challenged worldwide, and Ghana is no exception. Let's talk about burn rate. Essentially, burn rate is the ability of an institution or a company or a corporate to be able to continue to function without receiving the expected revenue continuously. Now, the burn rate for most companies in Ghana range from 1 to 3 months. It means, therefore, that if revenue is challenged, businesses are not going to be able to continue to function.
Okay.
The reason we're doing this is with multimedia. We try to share thoughts. Yes. We try to share thoughts to help businesses in Ghana to be able to grow and to be able to find answers to the questions that they ask. And so on the 1st of July, we're having this Zoom, should I say, it's not an on-ground event, this is an online event. And essentially, it's going to be talking about the entrepreneurial rebound. How do businesses make their way out of the situation in which they find themselves now? And we're looking at a range of resource persons because we understand that the challenge we're faced with is a hydra-headed problem. So, for example, if you speak to 5 corporates today, they're discussing the possibility of looking at staff remuneration. It hasn't happened yet. Staff are worried. The conversation is, do you keep paying staff what you're paying them, seeing as money is not coming in? That conversation is going to be had. We'll have a resource person to talk about the human resource factor. Customer service, that's also affected, that's challenged. Tax, we're looking at a tax shortfall on import duties alone this year of about 808 million. Again, we're going to have some tax consultants there on the show to speak to us. And then innovation. I think that's the greatest thing now. You need to be able to innovate in these times to be able to survive. So it's a really exciting conversation. I encourage everyone to make a date with us. 1st of July. It starts exactly at 1 p.m. through to 2:30 p.m. and it'll be on Zoom. It'll also be live on Facebook and on all of our channels so that all of our listeners and those who are interested should please tune in and by all means be a part of that conversation. We will get interactive, so we'll ask questions also.
I'll be tuned in, yeah. And what is of interest to me, really, you're tackling several areas, like you mentioned, areas to do with customer service, to do with technology, and how it can help entrepreneurs rebound, human resource, business development. And you've got a list of people you are bringing together to have this conversation. Run us through.
I have indeed. We'll be privileged on the show to have the board chair of the Institute of Customer Service across West Africa on the show, Yvonne Ohui McCarthy. Yvonne is currently with us on the show. We'll also be privileged to have John Armour. John Armour is also a business consultant. He's been with us on the show before. We're privileged to have Samuel Kwame Boafo, who is a private HR practitioner. He's also going to share some thoughts with us on the show. And then we're going to have Derry Dean. Derry was with us on the on-ground event about 2 years ago, Dream Oval. And then we'll also have Mr. William Demetia. He's a tax consultant. So he's going to help us understand the impact on the government purse. Because obviously, if the revenue is not coming in, how is government going to be able to foot all of its bills? Then we'll have Mr. Charles Mensah, who's a financial consultant, who is also going to share some thoughts. So it's a very rich mix of resource persons we're going to have on the day, and it promises to be exciting.
Rich resource people, I should say. Anybody watching wondering, why should I be a part of this conversation? What am I going to take out of it?
Right, because you see, the thing is this, we're talking about business and entrepreneurship, but it affects all of us in one way or the other. So that, for example, the customer is king today, and you are a customer. So if there's nothing that you do in all of this, your role is that you're a customer, and you will help Ghana to become better by pushing industry, pushing corporates, pushing companies to do things the right way. I mean, if there's a bit of time, there was one thing we shared on the show last week about customer service and brand awareness. Most corporates have brands, taglines. Great disconnect between the brand and the customer service person on the front line. He comes to work and these days you find, Daryl, that people are not smiling in the front line because they're wearing masks. Now, if somebody came to your office and you turn them away because you're not smiling, because you're not happy, they're not going to come back again, because today the customer is spoiled for choice.
That's exciting. I can't wait for the conversation on the 1st of July. That's on Joy 99.7 FM. That's where everyone can tune in at 1 o'clock. It's going to be an hour and a half conversation, 1 o'clock to 2:30. And I believe that they're going to be helped, because really there are so many entrepreneurs who are really struggling at this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much. Yao Inimbana is host of the masterclass. We'll keep talking till Wednesday when we bring you this special edition of the masterclass, The Entrepreneurial Rebound. You're watching. Let's turn to some other stories. Tonight, government will soon announce a package for informants whose leads will result in the arrest of smugglers of government-subsidized farm inputs. The 5 regions of the north have gained notoriety for smuggling neighboring countries. It is against this backdrop that stakeholders in the northern region are mapping out strategies to curb the increasing act. More in this report by Martina Bugri.
The Northern Regional Minister Saleh Said, who gave the hint at a meeting organized by the Regional Coordinating Council, said the sector minister would soon announce the package.
Apart from that, I have also used the platform to warn some businessmen and women who are operating in the farm input sector, especially the fertilizer. Some people are smuggling it to the neighboring countries through the unapproved routes in our part of the country. And I've used it to warn them because the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is very disturbed, given the reason why some business people are trying to operate in that. We will not allow anybody or private person where government will use the limited resources of the state to buy and subsidize farm inputs. And some people want to trade in it through the illegal means. We will not accept that.
He warned that government cannot continue to subsidize farm inputs whilst unscrupulous people continue to smuggle the product.
So RESEC, we have come out with very strict measures. The sector ministry, they have come out with some incentive packages to people who inform us about this people who are operating in that. And then also the security officers who will also act and conform to the directives given to them by their commands to be able to ensure that they assist the informant, then we apprehend these people. By the end of the day, there will be government money being reserved, then also the farmers, they will get the inputs in the right quantities at the right time to be able to apply to their farmland. Yeah, they are very attractive packages, and currently the Ministry of Agriculture, the directors from the national level, they are coming from Boku today. And when they get back, we agree. And he tried to listen to the other 5 regions of the north, because the operations are within the 5 regions. And they want to settle on the proposed packages. And when they get back to Accra, they will roll it out nationwide. So I believe strongly that tomorrow when he gets back to Accra, the packages that they have settled on, they propose some. I don't want to be the one who will announce it, but the sector minister will announce it any day from tomorrow going.
Great report for Martina there. Hopefully we'll make some headway. You're watching Business Live. Guys, we're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you why Facebook is losing billions of dollars. Stay with us. And welcome back to Business Live. A boycott of advertisers on social media is gaining momentum, and Facebook is the primary target, it appears. Marketers are expressing unease with how Facebook handles misinformation and hate speech. Now, the boycott is said to have cost Facebook $72 billion so far. Let's make sense of this. Host of Joy FM's Geek Squad, Kobe Spike and Kuma joins me. Where's Kobe? Yeah, there you are in the vehicle.
Hi.
Great. Where about town are you?
Well, my network in my area is quite bad, so I always have to drive to my junction to do a Zoom call.
Great. Okay, Kobe, so Facebook's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has responded, pledging his company will do more. But that has come a little too late, hasn't it?
Yes. This whole thing started because Facebook has not really actively fought against all this hate speech, anti-Semitism, and a lot of things on the social media platform, which has the most users of all social media platforms. And, a lot of people were expecting more from Facebook, say, actively stopping all this hate speech, white supremacist groups that are always championing their causes and everything. And these advertisers feel the best way to push this is because they also don't want to be associated with this stuff. So the best thing to do this is by just cutting their spending on Facebook. And we all know that's how Facebook makes money. Facebook makes money from advertisements. So if all the advertisers stop spending, Facebook loses money.
Okay, to your point about how advertisers are pulling out, how significant is this? Because we know that shares have plunged and the advertisers are pulling out. That together, we are being told, may have cost the company about $72 billion. Significant is this?
Well, it's quite significant, but if you look at it from another point of view, Facebook has sort of become self-sustaining right now. They're making They're making money from the small and medium-scale businesses like that ice cream maker or that fried rice, your lunch maker in their house, or that person who sells baby clothes from the garage. They are spending more on Facebook ads. So Coca-Cola, Verizon, Hershey's, all these companies who are saying, hey, we're not going to spend, because they spend a lot of money, we're not going to spend on Facebook for at least the next 30 days. It's affecting Facebook in a way, but it's not really a great impact. So,
and the list continues, right? Starbucks, Charles. Can Facebook turn this around? I know they are introducing some measures to flag problematic posts, for instance.
Yeah, they are. They are trying their best, but as it stands, it's like, they would have to use a very advanced artificial intelligence system. It's difficult to have human beings check everything that's posted on Facebook. Facebook is used by billions of people. You're expecting each post by every person to be checked. Granted, this can be done by artificial intelligence, but that AI needs to be trained. And some people may find a way to beat that system. So as it goes on, they're trying. The same way they tried with fake news, where you have to put fact checkers who check stuff. And the same thing they had to do with even WhatsApp, where you send stories and you have to find ways to fix this. It's a problem, but they look like they're taking a step to fixing it. We don't know if we're going to be able to do it 100%, but they should be able to with all that money.
My final question, I hope you can do this in 30 seconds for me. Would Facebook ever be able to get a hang of this hate speech? Even here over the weekend in Ghana, we saw the kind of sentiments that were going around on social media. Can they ever get a hang of it?
Well, like I said, if Facebook has the money, if they can invest in a very, very, well-trained artificial intelligence system that can detect everything that goes on there to say, hey, this is hate speech, this is a modified version of that hate speech, and train it to detect it very quickly. So let's say every post that goes on in 10 seconds should have been scanned, and so they'll be able to tell if it's hate speech or not, or if it's something that goes against their guidelines and their policies. If they can do that, they'll be out of this. But yeah, it's quite a difficult task.
All right, Kobe Spike in Kumar, thank you so much. Sorry I had to pull you out so you can speak to me. But great stuff, I appreciate it. You have been watching Business Live. We are expecting a very important press conference by the Electoral Commission to happen any moment from now. We'll bring that to you live here on JoyNews. Do stay.